very controversial speaker tonight. As many of you know, been in this class before that Tony, the former student here, and I really never knew what should have happened to Tony. But now that he's come back and he's going to tell us what he's doing and his new job and how nice he looks all dressed up, real professional. Good things happen when you get a degree from this institute. So go ahead, tell us what's going on.
Yeah, we can. Okay. All right. Well, good evening, everybody. It's really good to see a lot of familiar faces. I'm Tony. I got my undergrad here, graduated with my bachelor's in political science in 2013, and then immediately continued on through the Bliss Institute and got my master's in applied politics, and I just graduated this August. During my time in grad school, I did multiple internships. I did 2 for credit, 9 for non-credit because I don't know how to say no. And I think that's been one of the best lessons I've learned about how to do well in this program is to never say no, always be open to new opportunity. And it was really funny how I got into this position. I was down in Columbus meeting with Jonathan Varner, just talking about potential future working together. He's a mailing consultant, and we were just talking, and then I got a phone call from the Ohio Democratic Party, and they said, "Hey, Tony, I saw a picture you were in town. Do you mind coming over to headquarters?" I thought, why not? Well, they asked me, have you ever done anything in field? And I said, no, my background, I've done political fundraising for a little bit over a year, did fundraising with a fundraising consultant named Kimberly Padilla with Kimberly Wood & Associates. Had a great time there, got to learn a lot about political fundraising. It's such an important aspect of politics to know. But they asked me, would you be interested in potentially doing something in field? I said, I would definitely consider it. So after that initial talk, I get a phone call about an hour later for my second interview. And I thought, okay, well, this is kind of cool. So they offered me the job, and they said, are you familiar with Akron at all? So I was really excited because, to me, Akron has kind of always felt like home. I grew up in Youngstown, came to Akron, though, spent a huge part of my life here. Probably where the boy I was met the man that I'm going to be right here in Akron. So I am now the Akron Regional Field Organizer for the Ohio Democratic Party here in Akron. And part of what I'm doing is, so let me first talk about the program that we're doing. So this is the first time ever in the state of Ohio's history, I think for the most part, the nation, which is why the DNC is so heavily invested in our program, that we have field organizers on the ground now before the primary to kind of build the state's infrastructure of volunteers, of hardcore, dedicated Democrats to carry the state come 2016. The Ohio Democratic Party did already endorse a candidate for the U.S. Senate. They endorsed Ted Strickland, former governor. But we haven't endorsed Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, Martin O'Malley, because our overall message is we are for all Democrats, and that's kind of been the message we were rolling with. Back in 2014, we saw a lot of big problems. 1, voter turnout was at an all-time low. 2, we did not have the most competent candidate running on the top of our ballot. We're vetting candidates better now, so you live and learn. But we saw that that excitement to go out to the polls was just not where it needed to be. So Ohio Democratic Party, under the new direction of David Pepper, thought we need to find a way to get into these areas, to get Democrats excited, to become united, so that we can get Ohio ready. Because, as you know, so goes Ohio, so goes the nation. So part of my job is getting in here, talking to you guys, getting you excited. And believe me when I say this, I don't care if you're a Republican, a Democrat. I want you to go vote because, the philosophy is if everybody in America goes out and votes, we win. There's just, it's arithmetic. There's more of us, so. So no matter what party you are, I want you to vote because your vote does matter, especially here in Ohio. Some of the biggest challenges that I've been running into, though, is we have awesome candidates in the Democratic Party right now. Like, I couldn't be more happy because if you watch the first Republican debate and the first Democratic debate, you saw two really huge differences. The first Republican debate, I think they mentioned the middle class a total of 3 times, which, okay, I get it, it's not a priority, but it wasn't a lot of talking about issues. It was talking about what's wrong with this guy, what's wrong with that guy. One thing I was really proud of, the Democratic debate talked about the issues. They weren't attacking each other because you can attack Hillary on 1,000 things. You could attack Bernie on 1,000 things. You could attack Martin O'Malley on 1,000 things if you knew 1,000 things to attack him on. What? I mean, he's a cool candidate. I mean, he lifts, he plays guitar. I mean, come on. But like, why I'm doing this job is because what's really cool is I got to start a job that I just love because I'm firstborn. I'm the first generation American in my family. My dad was born in Greece. I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college. First person on my dad's side to graduate from high school. My dad's in the painters union. We have a small painting company. I have a younger sister with special needs. Everything that I've grown up with, I've seen how much government does help and what the promise of opportunity is when you let government help. And that's why I'm a Democrat. And that's why I couldn't imagine myself happier in any other field because I get to go out there and tell my story. Why I'm in this position, why I want to do grassroots movement so that I can get people just as fired up about electing the leaders that are going to help the people like my father when he came here from Greece, that are going to help the people like my younger sister Stacy, who did not have access to a good school to go to so she can learn how to read. I mean, when she was in 4th grade, the teacher told my mother that she would never be able to read. That's an awful thing for a teacher to tell a mother. Stacy's 22 now. She can read at a 9th grade level. And it's because we were able to get her into a better school thanks to help within our local school district. I live the reasons why the democratic principles are so important, and I definitely understand why people of other parties have theirs. But I work so passionately and so hard into what I'm doing because I know the alternative, and it's not good for people like my family. So the first major thing that I'm doing is this is a whole new thing we're doing. It's called, these are called commit to vote cards. So it's kind of our recruitment tool, how we get volunteers, and also how we let volunteers know where we stand. And I'm going to ask you guys to fill one out. One, volunteering with me is a lot of fun. Two, all this does is tells me, because I'm the one dealing with the data, is that I am committed to voting. And if you're a Republican, you don't have to fill one out because it does say on the card, I'm committed to voting for the Democrat in 2016. But it tells you where we stand as a party. And the reason why I'm talking on this is because sometimes you need to hear a personal story to connect the values of a party to how it affects somebody on the micro level. So who can I count on to sign a commit to vote card? just to
Tony, why don't you tell us
Yeah.
what a typical day is for you? What do you do every day?
Okay. Typical day in the life of a field organizer. I wake up, I go through my list of the day. Typically, so for everyone that fills out a commit to vote card and says they want to volunteer, I do a personal follow-up meeting with them, and I meet with all of my volunteers. I've had over 300 meetings since I started this job a month ago, and I sit down and I say, hey, what do you think your greatest talent is to a campaign? And I work with my volunteers to try to help them become the greatest version of themselves. Because if you get a volunteer doing something that they truly enjoy, they're going to volunteer an exponential amount of times. It's really rewarding when you see the volunteer like reaching their full potential and being excited about volunteering. So I do a lot with volunteer recruitment, I call it empowering, because I've volunteered for countless amounts of campaigns. I've had great organizers, I've had bad organizers. And I know that the best way to keep a volunteer is to make them feel that they're really contributing to something bigger. Other than that, I get to meet a lot of cool people. I'm not gonna lie, that's been like one of my favorite parts of the job. I go to a lot of different events. I kind of tell my story. A lot of times you have to go in there. Like today, I went to a few different rallies with the SEIU. We were rallying for a $15 minimum wage. Regardless where you stand on a $15 minimum wage, we do need to recognize that there is a huge wage gap in this country. If $15 is the right amount, I'm not the judge of that. I'm fighting for the cause that there is a huge wage gap, and we need to do more to support our families that are in economic distress. There was one of the protesters to our rally said that the proper minimum wage should be $0. And I thought, okay, so we're gonna start supporting slavery again. Okay, I mean, 'cause that's the alternative. I mean, $0 minimum wage is free labor, which is slavery, but. So I do a lot with unions. I do a lot with group organizing. My day last week, I worked on multiple local elections. ODP endorsed different people running for mayor that needed help. I was down in Canton, I was down in Massillon, I was down in Dover, I was down in Mansfield, I was up in Toledo. Akron really didn't need help, so I wasn't in my own turf for a little bit. But I was out there door knocking. I was out there getting Democrats in that area fired up and training people how to canvass, how to recruit volunteers. So that way when we left the Stark County Democratic Party, they knew how to recruit volunteers. They knew how to train them to phone bank. They knew how to train them in how to frame a conversation. Because a lot of times people are rock star volunteers when they know what to do. So my days can end from 9 o'clock at night to 3 o'clock in the morning during election season. But honestly, like, I work crazy hours, and it takes talking about it to realize how crazy the hours are. Because really time does go by when you're having fun and when you're doing something that your heart's into. And I wouldn't trade the job for the world. I mean, I get a day off during the week, and I get my weekend, so that gives me time to catch up with family, catch up with friends, do laundry. But no, it's a lot of hours, but a lot of networking, a lot of community building. Because at the end of the day, my job is nothing more than a community organizer, and to me, that's kind of cool, because I don't know, I'm a very if I can make one drop in the ocean of change happen, then I'll feel like I've done my job.
Any questions for Tony?
Awesome. All right.
So Tony, you're accumulating a list of volunteers.
Yeah.
And what campaigns do you anticipate plugging them in?
Okay. Well, we for sure have a Senate race, and we will have a Democratic nominee. Regardless, whoever the nominee is for president, we're going to support that candidate. And when they come into Ohio after March and they say, hey, where can we find volunteers? They won't have to say, where can we find, what volunteers do you have? And then I give them my huge stack of cards. Well, it's all in Vote Builder, which is kind of how we log all of our info. But from now till then, we're having volunteers host debate watch parties. If anybody's interested in hosting a debate watch party for this Saturday, let me know. I'm teaching volunteers how to do what I do, how to get other Democrats excited. A lot of my volunteers have been helping with volunteer recruitment right now, and they've been phone banking with me. Hey, I see that you volunteered 10 times during Ted Strickland's gubernatorial campaign. Would you like to come out this weekend and help us recruit other dedicated, strong Democrats like yourself?
You know there are 3 other statewide races next year, 3 justices for the Ohio Supreme
That's
Court.
right. That's right.
And they're going to need support
Yeah.
a lot more than Hillary.
Right. And I have no doubt that ODP will be hopping on in some capacity. Yeah, he's awesome. He's done a lot of good things with the party. Yeah.
So when I worked for ODP $1.5 million years ago, one of the things they did do a very good job of was training staff
Mm-hmm.
to recruit and retain volunteers. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious if you can talk a little bit about if you're doing any training, if they're giving you training,
Yeah.
and what that looks like, and then I have a recommendation for you.
Okay. All right. So we did go through a very extensive training. Honestly, our guest training lectures were really cool. We had Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, Senator Al Franken, and we had a lot of the ODP executive staff. We do go through a lot of training because they've broken our training down into multiple areas: campus organizing, minority neighborhood organizing, suburban organizing, urban organizing, and that was something that they noticed. They're bringing people that don't have the knowledge, and I'm one of the few people on staff that doesn't have that much field experience. I mean, like I said, I volunteered, and that's been about it. So a lot of what we're doing is kind of based on the OFA training style, and such as with these commit to vote cards, it's grassroots organizing, it's getting people in the neighborhood to go to their neighbor and say, hey, why don't you come volunteer with me?
Tell us what volunteer to do what? I mean, we are in a technological age right now. Where,
Yeah.
Obama campaign proved you don't even have to leave your house to volunteer. So what's the difference? What are you asking people to volunteer to do? What's the actual tasks?
Show that Democrats can be united from the family level to the state level. Whether that's hosting a house party, whether that's coming together for a rally to talk about issues, whether that's calling and recruiting people. Basically, we're building this web of connected Democrats that when 2016 comes, we all know each other, we've all met before, we're all comfortable with each other, we're all ready to rock. And that's something that hasn't necessarily been done before this early on. And it's not necessarily, none of my volunteers are going to be knocking on doors anytime soon. Not until we get past this primary election. But we're asking volunteers, to host, to help coordinate events, to just come together to have that productive conversation that's going to lead to more informed, more intelligent, more determined volunteers. Because once we hit primary, yeah, it's going to be straight. We're going to be outdoor knocking. We're going to be out getting lit out to people. We're going to be doing the basic functions of a campaign. But right now, it's building that strong network, building that strong infrastructure that's going to carry into the primary so that we're ready. So right now, we're having volunteers help build the machine that is the early grassroots victory effort. Sorry.
If I'm in the middle class,
Mhm.
okay, in the last 8 years, my per capita income has dropped 6%. Wages hasn't gone up at all in the last 8 years. Food stamps now have gone up 30% from 30 million to 50 million, so they're doing well. The rich are doing very well. Their wealth has gone up about 40% with the stock market. Now, tell me, if I want to be a Democrat, what are you going to do for me in the middle class?
I mean, the first thing you got to look at is we've had also the longest strain of job growth. I mean, one of the...
You know, you just reached the level of 2007 this year. It took you 7 years to recover all the jobs you lost. You'll tell me what you're going to do.
You lost. You lost. Your party lost.
I mean, prior to 08, I mean, who was in office? I don't think...
Food stamps don't exist anymore. Snap.
If I was a Democrat and I was a worker,
Mhm.
you come in and talk to me now, what are you going to do for me?
Ignore him and go to the next topic.
If I'm poor, you'll give me food stamps. Great.
No, because no. Let me tell you.
If I'm rich, you know, the stock market's going up nice. It went up 100 and some percent since 2008. I'm doing very well. Now the poor worker, what's he doing?
Let me just tell you, our party is the party of opportunity.
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 To do what? Become poor?
To have an equal shot at the American dream.
You know, the median household income has gone down for a reason, and that's because in the 80s, unions got crushed. And if you want to talk about the fall of the middle class and the declines from corporatism, period. And the Republican Party is the party of corporatism.
Tony, you're so PC, you end up being the most
Last time I was up here, we all know how that went.
Just reminded, food stamps no longer exist. It's SNAP benefits. You get $16. You get $16 a month for that SNAP.
Okay, you gotta answer his question. You gotta look up to see what drives wages. If you don't have productivity or jobs, you're not gonna have wages.
Once again, you've had productivity going through the roof, statistics, period, since the late 70s, and wages have stayed stagnant.
Get a reasonable
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
So you mentioned 2014, particularly low turnout because bad top of the ticket. Ed Fitzgerald,
Yeah.
hadn't really been vetted. Democratic Party kind of shut down the primary process there. How are you not doing exactly the same thing in the Senate race this year?
Okay. I can't. So let me tell you about how that meeting went. P.G. Sittenfeld had the opportunity to come to the executive meeting to vet for the endorsement of the party. He didn't show up. Plain and simple. Ted Strickland was there. Ted Strickland spoke on his own behalf. He was our former governor. He is an incumbent. He was the governor. PG did not show up. He is on the Ohio Democratic Party Executive Committee, and he didn't show up. He had the same opportunity that the former governor had. That is the most that I can speak of on the topic, because I'm not going to talk on something that I don't know the background story to, but I do know that he had an equal shot.
Who told you that? Were you there?
I wasn't there.
Somebody told you that's what happened.
Yeah.
That's not true. It's just not true. And you know, the point is that, and I didn't want to say anything about this because you made a point of we're not endorsing in the presidential because we think it should be open, but we endorse the
Yeah.
Senate thing. That doesn't make
And
sense.
we
does it?
received a lot of backlash for
Well,
that.
you should have done
Yeah.
it. You didn't do it.
No,
But-
it-
but-
this was
but
pre-Tony hiring,
Alex's
for the
point-
record.
Alex's point
Yeah.
is that, you know, history repeats itself, and
Yeah.
and then it should be your fault, not your fault, but, you know, we have a process, and the Ohio Democratic Party, which have been around for a long time, where there are powers that be who wanted Ted Strickland to be the nominee. And even if the story you told was true, and PG would have shown up, he wouldn't have won, because it was fixed. You know, when anybody's gonna be endorsed, it usually fixes it, which is not good, and it's not good for history, but, in the future, when you're talking about this, talk about something you were at. Don't be spreading something somebody told you, because someone like me's gonna stand up and say it ain't true.
Right. Thank you. All right.
When we left, so,
Posterity. When we were in DC for the class trip last spring, and you and I walked out of the Democratic National Committee headquarters, really looking sort of disappointed at what we heard. Now that you are a paid spokesman for the DNC and a paid representative of the DNC, and here in Ohio, obviously, has your confidence changed at all in the ability of Democrats at a statewide level, or you know, at a congressional level, at a state office level, to sort of right the ship and to sort of push back the Republicans? Or are you, and I'd like you to be better than a good soldier and be honest.
Okay.
Do you have real confidence that they'll be able to right the ship and actually maybe contend in a few congressional districts and hopefully put a dent in part of the state house?
Yeah, I'm not. When I left the DNC last year, I was very kind of disappointed, and I gotta say, one thing that I am really confident about going forward is issue 1 was a big deal, and that I think above everything is kind of the signal that we are getting one step closer to fair elections. I think we're gonna have a bright future moving forward. As far as a statewide level, we have a lot of amazing people who are ready to step up. Our bench is getting bigger, and regardless how the Senate race goes, PG has a lot of potential. Even if he doesn't get the Senate, he's a phenomenal young rising star. There's a lot of potential in Ohio right now that is really just awe-inspiring, because Ohio Democratic Party has changed its focus from being just the party of the big elections. We are focusing, we've started this whole Main Street effort which focuses on local elections, because all elections to the most local level affect us. We've started to focus on 2016 and 2018, because when the census comes out, it's the party in power that's going to kind of redraw the map on how the state's going to look like. And as the Ohio Democratic Party, we don't want a state that's all blue. We want a state that's competitive. And that is where we've come out on that. That is where we stand. We want competitive, fair elections. End of story. Some of the candidates that have been talking about running are very well qualified, have shown to be public servants, not politicians. We're focusing on building our bench from a smaller level, which is something we haven't done before, is actually put an active effort to build the bench. We're looking for young rising stars in the community. We're looking for people that want to serve the community, not themselves. We're doing a lot more internally with our infrastructure, such as the program that I'm working on. It's about building strong infrastructure to move forward. And I feel very confident in the state of the party. I feel that we're going to see a change in not just the color of the state house, but the makeup of excited, energetic voters, regardless of what party.
Could I ask a question? Who is PG? I don't know.
I just asked Mike the same question. Is that Pepper guy?
No, no, David Pepper is the chair of the Ohio Democratic Party. PG is a Cincinnati City Councilman.
What's his name?
Peter? Oh, Sittenfeld. Yeah, Sittenfeld.
He's coming across again in Cincinnati. He's coming.
So what's PG's name? Seinfeld?
Sittenfeld. Sittenfeld.
Sittenfeld.
Yeah. Yeah. That wouldn't be bad.
Tony, a couple of things you got to pay attention to. The judge's point that he made, the question he asked, the point he made was really important. A Democrat or Republican, that the national campaigns next year, don't need a lot of help, from us. What really needs to be focused on is that, and I was talking about this when I was in India, that we have a habit of every 4 years. First of all, people vote every 4 years.
Yeah.
Right? When they come out
Democrats
to
vote.
When they come out to vote, they vote for the top of the ticket and they go home. So there are lots of people who don't get elected, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, because nobody votes for them. And judges are the ones that are at the bottom of the ballot, and they're the ones that get harmed the most. We had Mary Margaret Rowland here. You remember her talking about how she benefited because the second time she ran was the presidential, and she worked, in fact, to get people to down the ballot. That's really important. Secondly, you have, you have a really interesting job. You're new at this. You're excited by it, and don't take these questions too hard. But be prepared that you're going to get questions like this from a lot of folks. But the ability to get involved in this in a presidential year, is a much easier time to try to get volunteers. But when you're talking to volunteers, you got to give them something to do, right? And make it something that they can be successful at. It's nothing like asking a volunteer to do something they can't do and they never come back because they ask me to call. If you're asking them to call people on the phone, give them 5 names or 10 names. Don't give them 50.
Right.
And all these type of things. But I think we're all excited that you got a job.
Me too.
And you didn't have to go back to Youngstown
For about 2 months.
and get involved and getting indicted sometime in the future if you're a successful politician there. Yes.
I thought you were wonderful. I thought you have a wonderful presence with what you're doing. And I think you have a compelling story to go along with that. It makes sense to me. I can't fill out the card.
How did you know I was going to give this to you?
You're
I'm just
yeah,
picking
yeah,
it up to see which of these things you would want to volunteer
No,
for.
I was going to tell you, but I am a Democrat, but I don't, and I will vote, which was what your opening statement was, but I don't know who I'm going to vote for, so I can't promise I'll vote Democrat. I don't have any idea yet, so I can't fill out a card. But I just thought that you have a good presence, and your story is, I think, a strong one. It's a compelling one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's thank Tony for coming. Do we know the person's name who's coming next week?
David Warren.
David Warren is going to come do similar things for Republicans, so it's equal time. Okay? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Your name's Tony, and I like Prince or Cher.